Welcome to another edition of Pro Paintball Weekly. I'm your host, E-Money, and this week we're talking about the nppl Huntington Beach 07 post-game review, and what an exciting event it was. The top two teams nobody would have guessed would have been there, and there is definitely parity now in the nppl for 2007. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Alright folks, let's take it from the top. Team by team, all the way through the top 18 teams in the Super 7. And as you've seen, this year definitely is going to be the most wide open year, and the experts agree, in the nppl, definitely for 07. Again, in the early years it was just Dynasty, and everybody else. Excessive kind of came around last year and caused some havoc, but now, definitely, as you can see from the results this year, that some of the teams that were on the top last year are on the bottom and vice versa. So again, look for exciting parity here in 07. But let's take it from the top. First place, congratulations, Oakland Blast. That's right, Oakland Blast. You're saying, who? What's going on with this squad? Well, obviously with the merger of National Paintball and PMI, this spot has kind of changed names and changed owners and gone back and forth. Originally, again, we'll try to keep it condensed as possible, but Gary Show's originally had a spot that he purchased that was with these guys, and again with the whole merger now, it looks like they got another spot in the pro ranks, and glad that they did. So again, it is now Oakland Blast. It is Bob Long, Zach Long, and so you got father and son there. Then of course you have Gary Shows and his two boys, and so it's kind of an all-star legend / next generation team. And I had a chance to interview Bob right after the game, and how exciting it is to, again, have your son and be there on the field, have your son kind of carry on the legacy. Because it's been a while since Bob's been in the winner's circle, so this was huge. And these guys made it in by 1 point over LTZ to the preliminaries, and that has got to hurt. And again, they made every point count, and again, took it all the way, so got to congratulate Oakland Blast, first place. All right, moving on, let's talk second place, Edmonton Impact. That's right. Who are these teams? What's going on? That's right. This is the new nppl. Edmonton Impact, all the way from Canada. That's right. These guys put on a big second place finish, and they didn't just squeak in accidentally. They had to beat Dynasty and in the semis to get to them. So got to hand it off to these guys. Bart Yakimek and his boys and his crew. These guys, again, started down in the semi-pros, worked their way up. And they have a fantastic ownership group there, first-class quality, and again, these players are showing it. Although he did admit that he was quite surprised that they got this far. But here's an interesting thing about that squad. Number one, they have no contracts. And in the day and age of, hey, professionalism and looking at the die model and the Ironmen and these guys getting published salaries and all that, now these guys have no contracts. It's like, hey, you want to be in, you want to be part of the family. That seems to be working very well for them. Also, some of the team members play on the 7-man squad, but play X-Ball for another squad. In the case of Josh Davies, he plays for Dynasty for them with X-Ball. And actually some of the players, when I was talking to Bart, the owner, were actually in LA at the time practicing with Dynasty, hopefully to make that squad. So a lot of interesting things with the different formats, but nonetheless, Edmonton Impact shocked the world, second place. And now it's like, hey, let's see if we can repeat this performance. But of course, we have to congratulate Edmonton Impact for signing on with Money Paintball as a sponsor here, as we provided them turf for their new fields up in Canada. So look out for these guys. They are serious. All right, moving on. Number 3, that's right, Dynasty in third place. Again, all the critics are going to come out, but again, they have to kind of watch their words because of what Dynasty did last year. Ended up winning the whole thing after a shaky beginning and middle there, but ended up pulling off in the end. So again, Dynasty well in the race, third place, definitely in control where they want to be, although they just had a little too much dose of impact and could not overcome. So call it destiny, call it whatever, but just too much impact and Dynasty cannot overcome. But sitting in third place in the first event, again, Dynasty's right where they want to be in the driver's seat. Fourth place, Joy Division. Now a lot of people go, oh, it's kind of a disappointing finish. Well, compared to last year's Huntington Beach, this is much better placing for Joy Division. Of course, last year in Huntington Beach, half their squad was in Huntington Beach, half their squad was at the Millennium. None of these programs conflict this year, so that's good news for the boys from Joy. But we got a chance to sit down with, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and I apologize, Magd Idris, that is the owner's name. And again, a quality class act. I see a lot of new quality ownership in the nppl, which is giving me hope again. And he just said, you know what, mentally our guys just ran out of gas. And again, you can talk about jet lag and this and that and blah, 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 but we know Maximus comes to play and all his crew, and these guys, again, played fantastic. But again, just mentally, again, just ran out of gas. The tank was empty. But nonetheless, 4th place, solid finish. Of course, they would have rather won it, but nonetheless, they continue, as last year with these consistent placings, they're going to be the ones taking home the crown for overall champion in 2007. So, 1st through 4, let's move on to number 5. Ironmen, that's right. Oliver Lang and company missed the semifinals by 3 points. Ouch! And I talked to Oliver, and he was less than ecstatic about that. And again, he just had definitely was challenged with the scoring system and what's going on. Again, 3 points kept the Ironmen out. Again, did it all positively. It was just like, hey, you know what? I would like to see some things a little different there. But nonetheless, Ironmen on the outside looking in, and not excited about it. A good event for those guys. Again, they would, of course, after their first place finish in the NXL, of course, they wanted to follow that with back-to-back first, but not the case this time. Although, again, as we talked about with the parity, 5th place, they're not totally out of it. It's not over. Again, this is a team that's going to be in the top 1 through 5 or top 4 consistently. So I think we're going to see a big race there between Joy and Ironmen to take it. And now with Oakland here, if they can stay consistent, and Edmonton Impact, another wild card here, these could be the top teams. Of course, we'll get to the teams that aren't there yet and figure out what happened to them as we continue on here. Let's go to number 6, LA Infamous. And again, I think a strong performance from them. I wasn't expecting these guys to do much, but let's talk both LA Infamous and 6th. 7th, New England Hurricanes. 8th, Portland Naughty Dogs. These guys are playing fantastic on Saturday. But when they got to the quarterfinals on Sunday, all these guys just fell asleep. I think none of them won more than 2 games in the quarterfinals, and it was like, what happened to these guys? So as we talked about again, Justin was not happy, obviously, with the Hurricanes' performance. Although Infamous, I have to hand it to these guys. I haven't really counted them to do much, so I was impressed there. Dogs, of course, everyone knows my take on those guys. We're looking, again, I think it's too much for them to do both leagues, but nonetheless, again, stormed into the quarters and then just kind of fell asleep. But 8th place, that is not where the Naughty Dogs that I know belong. Obviously, the last couple of years have been tough on them, but again, I think they need to pick one or the other. So let's move on. Number 9, Montreal Image, and this, of course, is the Baltimore Trauma Crew. Now, a lot of people go, oh, yeah, 9th place, whatever. I'll tell you what, this is a great improvement for these guys because last year they weren't exactly dominating in the semi-pro division. So these guys scooped up a pro spot, and again, 9th place, you have to be happy with that. Again, Lasso and his guys getting used to each other, getting used to 7-man. So I see those guys kind of creeping it up. I don't think these guys are going to be overall series champions. I think they may crack the top 4 sometime this year. And again, more parity, but nonetheless, I look for these guys probably in the top 5 or top 6 total when the year's out. All right, let's move on to 10th place, and that belongs to LTZ. Now, here's a scary thought. LTZ and Jersey Authority missed Sunday by 1 point. That's right, missed the quarterfinals by 1 point. Oh! If you're a team owner and you're a player, that has got to kill you. 1 point. Oh, nonetheless, LTZ coming out strong. I was worried about these guys. I didn't think, hey, they could handle the 7-man game, the big jump to the pro spot. And again, they picked up that spot, as we talked about, on a loaner from Dye. Dye went ahead and purchased it. So I think they have to be pretty happy with the 10th place and missing it by 1 point. Going down to number 11, Jersey Authority. These guys, again, the Super Crew, we'll call it, or Boston. I guess we'll call it Boston in the 7-man division with a few other guys. Again, that 1 point. So those guys, again, are going to be in the top in the quarters and kind of causing controversy there. So again, it just goes to show you how wide open things are. And I think now we're seeing, for all you golf guys out there, if you're not into golf, that's okay. But golf is one of those things where any team really or any person can win on any occasion. If they're feeling good, if things are right, these guys are going to take control. And if not, you could get a surprise. As we saw with the Masters there, we thought for sure Tiger Woods was going to win. It wasn't the case. And again, I think nowadays the new Super 7 is a lot more wide open. And who knows who's going to end up in the semis from event to event, which is pretty exciting. All right, let's move on to now, we'll call them the bottom feeders here, 12th through 18th place. St. Louis Avalanche, about where I figured they would be. Again, a little bit, one notch less than last year. I'm not sure what Ed's doing with that group, but again, expected results there. Jacksonville.